I'm Aliya Sternstein, a reporter with Nextgov, and I have with me today David Wiley. He is a researcher with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and he's going to talk to us about an app that is used to help save a very, very endangered species. And I'd like you to talk about where the idea for this came from, what the problem is, and what the technology has helped solve.
Oh, yeah, great questions, all of them. See if I can do that. The animal we're dealing with is the North Atlantic right whale. The North Atlantic right whale is one of the rarest large animals on the entire planet. They used to be quite numerous, and they're called the right whale because they were just the right whale for those early whalers to kill, because they occurred in big numbers. They floated when they were killed, which is the big thing. A lot of the whales, when you killed them, they sunk, and that was a problem. But right whales, because they were so fat, when you killed them, they floated to the surface. That's why they were the first whale that was really hunted almost to complete extinction. Certainly was commercial extinction, because they had so much blubber on them, which is one of the things the whalers liked, that they actually stayed at the surface, so they were easy to use. So they were also, because they became so rare, they were also one of the first ones to be federally protected and internationally protected in the 1930s. But that protection didn't really mean much. So they were still killed opportunistically right up until the 1960s. And then new information coming out by some friends of mine, Phil Clapham, shows that the Russians were killing them in the North Pacific, the North Pacific right whale, right through the 60s and even 70s. And they're even rarer now than the North Atlantic right whales. So poor right whales are taking on the chins or flukes pretty hard. So with the #1 mortality factor being ship strikes, we decided we'd really try to work on ship strikes. Partially because one of the things that I do, I put tags on whales to see what they do underwater. And right whales have a tendency to stay very close to the surface. My colleague Sue Parks and I were tagging right whales, and the majority of their time during the day, they're in the top 5 meters of the water column. And that's perfectly within ship strike zone. You can't see them, but a ship's body goes down that far, and they're right in the kill zone, so to speak.
So how have iPads helped save the lives of whales?
Well, iPads have helped save the lives of whales only in conjunction with something called the NOAA ship strike rule. And NOAA worked very hard to come up with a series of rules that would say that ships have to slow down in particular areas of the ocean. Sometimes, so for instance, the mouths of a lot of ports, Jacksonville, Charlotte, Savannah, New York, Chesapeake, have at particular times of the year areas around the spatial areas that say you have to go 10 knots in this area to protect right whales. Because there's good information that faster than 10 knots has more impact on them. So what we're trying to do is display that rule in a way that makes compliance with it easier. Because it's really hard for the shippers to know, some months it's on, some months it's off over here, it's on over here. So that's hard for them to know. We think that understanding and displaying the rule as simply as possible will lead to the greatest compliance. And if you have great compliance, you have great conservation.
Okay. So what does this app show the navigators on their iPads that allows them to avoid letting happen what you just described?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of aspects, spatial and temporal things that mariners need to be aware of. So part of these seasonal management areas that say at particular areas and particular times, this space of ocean, you have to go 10 knots. There's other parts that they say, this is an International Maritime Organization accepted area to be avoided. You're not supposed to go through this at all. And here are shipping lanes that you want to go through. And here are dynamic area managements where suddenly a bunch of right whales popped up in areas that there usually aren't, but they could still be hit by boats. So all these things are this kind of morass of information that kind of spins around that makes it really hard for even the most dedicated mariner to know what he or she is supposed to be adhering to at any one point in time. What Whale Alert does, it says, hey, here's everything you need to know on a nautical chart just like you're used to looking at, and here's your boat moving through there.
Whale Alert's the name of the app that they can download.
Whale Alert is the name of the app that they can download free. Right now it's only for iPads and iPhones. We're working to migrate it onto Android, and we also have just a simple website. So if you're not on your boat, but you're just sitting in your office, and you can use it on your PC or your Android, anything that can access the web can get this new website, and you'll get all the same information just from the web.
And how frequently is it updated? So that
Daily, and more than daily. So for instance, if the NOAA fisheries scientists are flying in their airplanes and they see a bunch of right whales that are outside of a seasonal management area, if they're in cell phone coverage, they can go to their iPhone, create a DMA, and it immediately appears on their iPad or on Whale Alert.
Wow.
So it's been a really interesting, innovative approach to take to management.
Yeah, and talk about management. Was there any pushback from upper management, from within the organization? How did you go about getting permission to?
Well, sometimes you're lucky enough not to realize that you need permission to do things. So we created it without knowing that we needed permission to create it. And then we had so many people involved that it was hard for anybody to say, well, we own this, so we can stop it. So NOAA couldn't stop it. There was a really good conservation organization called the International Fund for Animal Welfare. They did most of the funding for it. So it was difficult for any one entity to say, well, we're so mad about this that we can't go through. Now NOAA, to its real credit, immediately recognized the value of Whale Alert, kind of forgave me for the fact that I didn't know that there was supposed to be a process that I went through, and have really embraced it. And it's now being seen as a prototype for new types of apps that NOAA is getting involved with. So we all lived happily ever after.
Well, thank you very much, David. We look forward to finding out the future results about how you're going about saving the world with the help of Whale Alert.
And with the help of you guys getting this information out, because as I was saying, as biologists, what we're not good about necessarily is outreach and disseminating information widely. So organizations like this, you guys are really helpful to help us do that.